is a Ravens off season without a little bit of drama? So much to talk about on this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. Yes. Welcome back to episode 328 of the Purple Rain Podcast. Man, oh man, some of these names on here. The Justin Bethel, Ronald Darby, Mike Davis, Sanusi Kane, Latavius Murray, Brendan Trawick, Jordan Richards, Terrence West, Jermaine Winborn, Tom Zbikowski episode, Gary Baxter episode of the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 320 freaking 8. Yes. Thank you for coming through, spending your Friday Eve, your Thursday evening with us here on the Purple Rain Podcast. Don't have the joyous news that we've had of recent weeks to talk about, but we still have news nonetheless. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. This guy above me on Instagram or on X at SuttonDef. Me, Instagram, simply as10.prod, X, simply as10, and most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go on there, use code PRP for 20% off your whole order and free international shipping. The best deal on the internet. But yes, Sutton, obviously, not the best news we've received from the Ravens. We got good news, I mean, considering the situation, but we've had news, and then, sometimes no news is good news, but we have news. So how are you feeling, and how are we doing?
I'm feeling good. I was a little bit nervous, especially yesterday, pretty much the last 24 hours. I was feeling some nerves about the news we're getting ready to talk about. But before we get into any of that, before we dive into all of that, we got to do better for the number 28, man. We got to get some better players in the number 28, because I was just listening to some of those names you were saying. I'm just kind of thinking to myself, okay, when is the marquee name about to pop up, but it never really did for me, so I think we definitely need to do a better for 28. That's for sure.
That is true. Only one I'm putting out there, Gary Baxter. I'm guessing. Do I think Sanusi Kane can do that right now? No. He's stuck behind, if Ardarius Washington was healthy, he'd be stuck behind him, Malachi Starks, and then Kyle Hamilton. So who knows? Maybe he can be the chosen one for 28. Not too sure,
Maybe.
but yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see who we have here in the live chat. We do have our mod K-Dog in the house. We've got Tila M, one of our Purple Rain pioneers here. She is a member of the channel. Actually, let's go ahead and give a quick little shout out to the members of the Purple Rain podcast. So we've got Don C, Tila M, Jing in the house. We've also got Haha Dix and Chris M as well. Shout out to all of the Purple Rain patrons. We appreciate you guys from the bottom of our heart. We love you guys. So yeah, Alex, listen, not too much has transpired since we last talked, but I will say this. Ravens fans have been in an absolute frenzy the past 24 to 48 hours based off of this I-word scare. And if you've been watching the Purple Rain podcast for a while, we don't normally say the INJURY word on stream during the Purple Rain podcast streams. We'll replace it by saying I-word, right? We just don't like to say it. We don't like to speak it, but it is in the title, so you guys can clearly know what today's episode is about. Lamar got hurt. Lamar got hurt yesterday, and it was not something that was, just brushed off immediately. It was something that you kind of had to hold your breath for. I kind of want to go through the timeline of it all, and I guess we're just kind of jumping right into it here. I want to go through the timeline of it all. So yesterday, it was reported that, and this was from Jeff Zrebiec. Jeff Zrebiec, he had tweeted that Lamar Jackson left practice 40 minutes early with strength and conditioning coach Scott Elliott next to him and team doctors trailing. Jackson got knocked down while making a throw. He stayed in for a few plays after that, but he appeared to be flexing his hand or wrist, kind of showing some discomfort there, right? And then after that, 6 minutes later, only 6 minutes later, Jeff Zrebiec followed that tweet up by saying, a team spokesman said that Lamar Jackson just got his foot stepped on and he's fine. So just kind of stopping there before we get to what Harbaugh had to say today about it and kind of giving his update. This kind of gave fishy to me, Alex, and I want to toss it to you to see how you felt about it, because why would the spokesperson just run out and say, unprovoked, right? Oh, Lamar's fine, nothing to see here. He just got his foot stepped on, nothing to see, but obviously multiple reporters were reporting that he was favoring his hand, like something had been, gone wrong with his wrist or his hand. So why wasn't that brought up? Why wasn't that, addressed? I'm not sure, but what was your initial reaction to the whole Lamar going down in practice yesterday news?
So I don't want to make it too much about myself, but I kind of could have cared less because my soccer team made a big move at the same, like literally like 10 minutes before. But if I'm going to talk about just strictly Ravens right now, a lot of things played into this, and I'm actually going to have beef with probably one of the biggest NFL analysts right now. So you mentioned it. I'm pulling up here. Jamison Hensley at 2:49 p.m. put out that Lamar left practice. A minute later, 2:50, Adam Schefter, a Ravens eye word to monitor. Once he said it, I think is right when the spokesman said something, because like once the national media like got hold of it, Ravens like, you know what, we're sending the PR blitz, we're gonna shut this down as soon as possible, and then he updated his tweet and said a Ravens spokesman said Jackson got his foot stepped on, he's fine. That's number one. So I think the Ravens did some great PR dodging by just sending the spokesman out. Here's my biggest problem though. Everybody's saying the foot. Everybody mention it. But every single beat reporter, Jameson Hensley, Jeff Zrebiec, Cordell Woodland, I think Jonas Schaefer, all saying his hand, shaking his right hand in his wrist, mentioned that he threw some balls in the dirt afterwards. Why is it just a foot? I want to know about the wrists and the hand. And that's kind of what I'm having a little bit of trouble with. And I feel, and why I'm really skeptical. Foot can be fine, but I care about the wrist. I care about the hand. And we've heard nothing about that.
Yeah, especially considering that it's not like it was his left hand, right, that they were talking about he was favoring. It's his throwing hand, right? So I would think that would be of paramount importance, like to ask about, to really inquire about, to see how that is. Maybe Lamar Jackson himself just kind of brushed it off, right? In the locker room afterwards, saying, my hand's fine. It's really just my foot. It's feeling a little bit sore. And speaking of that, there was a lot of speculation online on basically like a whodunit, right? Who was the one, the culprit who stepped on Lamar Jackson's foot? A lot of people, of course, there's a huge hate train in the Ravens community right now, and it's not coming from us here at the Purple Rain Podcast. We'll say that because we are fans of number 77, just by virtue of having to be, but a lot of people were trying to put the blame on 77, Daniel Fa'alele, that he was the one who kind of came back and stepped on his foot. And I think that there's a little bit of, I don't know, I guess you could say, I don't want to say there's something to it, right? Because I think that conveniently none of the Ravens media members saw who stepped on his foot. And I believe that because I believe that they were probably watching the ball go through the air after Lamar Jackson released it. I mean, that's totally natural. I get that. They just saw the lineman picking him up off the ground. But I feel like the news would have came out from somewhere, some way, somehow, of how Lamar Jackson ended up on the ground. And the Ravens already knowing how much flack the community is kind of sending towards number 77, their right guard. I could see them trying to protect him a little bit. I could see that, and that's just kind of like the conspiracy side of me. It's not something that I'm really, really like hanging my hat on or anything like that. No, but I think it's a possibility. But kind of moving on. So today, everybody woke up kind of holding their breath about, okay, what time does practice start? Is Lamar Jackson going to be in practice today? And pretty much the first thing that we heard was that Lamar Jackson was not at practice. But then again, a bunch of other guys weren't at practice either. But before we get into that, Harbaugh did talk about briefly after practice, giving an update on Lamar. Let's go ahead and listen into what Harbaugh had to say.
Got his foot stepped on, like we said yesterday. I think Chad had mentioned that. They did a quick x-ray, and there's no damage or anything like that. I'm sure it's a little sore today, so we just kept him in, but he's fine. He's going to be good. Yeah, he got his foot stepped on, like we said yesterday.
Of course. Mentioned Chad Steele, Ravens PR. the same one who said no contract questions, guys, when Lamar was dealing with the whole contract. If you remember, like I do, yeah. Once again, I don't care about the foot. I care about the hand, and I get why they didn't ask about it, and I'm not going to bash the journalists because it's their job. They know a lot better than me. But there's questions of like the fans deserve to be asked and answered. But I guess it's not going to happen under John.
No, well, see, I disagree. I don't understand why they could not ask about the wrist or the hand because, I mean, if you're talking about journalistic integrity, guys like Jeff Zaribek, who I have a ton of respect for, he's a super credible reporter. He's been doing it for years through the Athletic for the Ravens. But he was the one originally who I saw said that Lamar Jackson was favoring a wrist, favoring a hand. You know what I mean? So like, if I'm Jeff Zaribek, and I don't. Again, this is no shot towards him, no shade towards him. Again, tons of respect for him. But if I'm Jeff Zaribek, I'm not going to be here looking crazy. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be the one looking crazy who doesn't answer, ask the question, especially if I do have direct access to ask John Harbaugh a question in that, about that situation. I'm going to try to make sure that, like, I close the loop on my end because I opened the loop yesterday by saying that, yeah, Lamar Jackson looks like he's favoring his hand. So now that you're going to come out today, Harbs, and say that basically it's all about the foot, they did an X-ray, came back negative, he's going to be good. And it's like the next follow-up question is about something totally unrelated. I think like linebackers or something like that. I don't really know what that's about. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned Chad Still, right? The Ravens spokesperson, right? I think that he kind of serves as a little bit of a mouthpiece, a liaison, a middleman, if you will, between what the Ravens want to say and what they want to get out to the media. And I think that if that's the reason why, he was the one who they trotted out there and told basically the media that everything's fine, no need to panic, no need to worry. And I get it. The Ravens don't want a media shitstorm. They don't want that. I understand that wholeheartedly. But at the same time, I mean, this is your franchise quarterback. This is the franchise, Lamar Jackson. So I would like them to be a little bit more transparent, but you get what you get. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. What do you guys think? Do you guys in the live chat, let us know. Do you think that there's it's a little fishy here, that it's more than what they're letting on? Oh yeah, and then also, let me mention this. John Harbaugh also went on to say that, he was praying, that everything was going to be okay with Lamar Jackson. And I think that, again, if they had to go to the lengths of X-rays and really, really like holding out hope, that tells me that Lamar Jackson was in some serious pain.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, your mic just like went in and out. Like it was sounding really good, and then like went like you're far away. But I definitely heard what you said. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm stuck at too. I mean, X-ray for precaution, but no MRI. Possibly you could have that as well. Listen, I'm not a doctor. Didn't go to school to be a doctor, but I just feel like there's better questions you could ask. And the Ravens keep things pretty in house, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I just saw on Twitter actually. Schefter said that I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I know what he was alluding. He basically thinks that the foot I word is worse than it is. And Lamar commented on ESPN NFLs with a laughing emoji. I think Schefter wants this to be worse than it is, and as bad as that may sound, I think it's the truth. He wants clicks. He kind of wants to be right, and there's a reason why guys don't like him in the league. I'm not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers has huge beef with him for reasons like that. And I still think he might be a little bit salty the way we kept Jair Alexander pretty quiet. He wasn't able to report on that. We announced that by ourselves. The Ravens, for the most part, announced their moves by themselves. It's not really picked up by the journalists. So might be a little beef there. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get the answers on the hand stuff because if you are asked it, you kind of be shut down or they just kind of walk away from it. So they want to keep it close to their chests, keep their cards close, and that's fine. Now the Bills, I'm going to be kind of just an NFL fan here, have to prepare maybe for Cooper Rush. I don't think it's going to happen, but there is now that possibility that maybe Lamar might not play week 1. I think he does, but you have to prepare either way. You have to be prepared. So throws a loop in their game planning as well.
Yeah, and honestly, this is another reason, and this might be controversial, but can you hear me okay now, by the way?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay?
Yep, you're good now.
Okay, awesome. But this may be controversial, and I think I talked about this a little bit earlier, too, on stream. I think this is another reason why you kind of got to get guys some preseason reps. I'm sorry, but like the game speed and the sense of urgency that you have in practice as opposed to the game are two different things. And you can ask a ton of different players this. Micah Parsons just tweeted about this earlier this week. Like they need those live game reps just to kind of get that. And I get it. A lot of people are going to be like, Sutton, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Lamar Jackson just got hurt in practice. Why do you want him to play in a meaningless game? I get that, but it's not meaningless. You know, like like preseason should not be seen as a danger zone for players. I think it's seen as preparation for the regular season because think about, these small things, these small injuries that, dang, I said it. I got to knock on wood now. These small I words, right? Guys getting hurt in practice. Like you think to yourself, like, man, these guys are getting ready to play a long 17 game season, right? Any of this stuff could happen just as easy, if not easier, because you actually have killers who are coming after you. You don't have on the non-contact jersey anymore. Like it's only going to get a lot harder from here. So I'm always of the school of thought. I've always been a fan of getting the guys some reps in the preseason so they can kind of get that adjustment period back, kind of shock their body back into being able to, play football at a high level and match that intensity at all times. I feel like these guys are kind of just walking through practices at this point. And again, I'm not in the practices myself, but that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. And I feel like that kind of like lackadaisical, maybe attitude in practice can lead to guys getting hurt. That's why I just think still it's important for guys to go ahead and play at least a little bit in the preseason. But where do you stand on that?
I mean, I would like them to, but we aren't, and the Harbaughs aren't. And Jim Harbaugh played his starters, and what happened? Quentin Johnson got taken to the hospital with a concussion. So now that kind of just led the Harbaughs probably now at Thanksgiving, probably be talking, oh, you played your guys in preseason, and your number 2 receiver got knocked out for who knows, and a concussion. So I would like us to play him, but of course we're not going to. It's because of what happened before. So I just don't get it. We're not going to know who was the reason why this happened. The team knows
No.
because they have the film there, the practice film, so they can watch it over again, and we won't have access to it. So they'll keep it close to their hearts. But once again, the O-line is set for the season. We talked about that on Tuesday, and they're going to roll with it. So I hope it doesn't happen in the season, because if it's happening in practice, we're going to play, unfortunately, better D-lines, better edge rushers than what we have. So that line better get ready.
Yeah. I've been thinking about week 4 against the Chiefs a lot recently and how important that game is going to be. I think I was on the Charm City Sideline podcast yesterday. Shout out to those guys over there, Bradley and Zach. They do a great job. Make sure you guys go subscribe to them. But I was on their pod yesterday and I was talking about how, that Chiefs game is going to be so important, man. And like, I think even more important than the Bills game. A lot of people are picking the Bills to probably, get 1 or 2 seed. And maybe the Ravens to get 1 or 2 seed. A lot of people are putting the Chiefs at kind of like that 3rd spot. But I think when it's all said and done, the Chiefs can, obviously be contending for the 1st spot in the AFC. And when we're talking about the offensive line and what they have to offer there, Chris Jones is still an absolute monster. And he's so versatile on the defensive line that he's able to line up at pretty much any technique, like on that defensive line. He can line up at edge. He can line up, over the A gap, wherever. And honestly, what they do is wherever you have your weakest link is where they're going to line him up over. And if Daniel Faalele up to that point is still showing to be the weakest link, it's only going to get tougher from there. I can see a lot of interior pressure going on, being put on Lamar Jackson if Daniel Faalele struggles in a situation like that. So, not to talk too much about 77 because it kind of gets annoying talking about a guy who what his, I don't want to say potential, but what type of player he is, right? He's not great. He's not absolutely terrible. His losses are loud, but he puts some good things on tape. He's average, right? He's average, right? And for this Ravens team, he sticks out like a sore thumb because pretty much everywhere else on the roster, we're above average, and I think that's kind of what we're missing when we talk about some of these guys. I mean, it is a luxury for your right guard to be your weakest position. It's kind of a luxury. I'm not going to lie. Let me see. Chris M says, Sutton, you put yourself on my list yesterday. Oh, yeah, she was in the Charm City Sideline pod, and we were talking about Super Bowl predictions, and I predicted the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl and actually lose it. Kind of a hot take from me. lose it to the Eagles with a heartbreaking Tyler Loop missed field goal. Just kind of like, it's a nightmare that I don't really want to think about, but it was a hot take in the moment, so I wanted to say it. But yeah, man, but let's go ahead and talk about some of the other players who were not at practice today, because again, it was not just Lamar Jackson. It was fullback Patrick Ricard, wide receiver Zay Flowers, tight ends Mark Andrews, obviously Isaiah Likely. There's obviously Emory Jones, Adisa Isaac, William Quinku, and Chidobe Awuzie. And then Harbaugh also said today that, Patrick Ricard, he's dealing with a soft tissue I word, and those are things that typically are happening around this time of year. Hopefully, I think the prediction is he'll be ready to go for week 1, so that'll be great, because as we know, Pat Ricard, again, one of the unsung heroes on this team, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's one of those guys where if we don't have him, the run game is nowhere nearly as successful as it is. So, but what's your reaction to some of these other guys being held out? Do you think it's just kind of like vet days or what?
For some it is. I would like to see guys like Jair and Uzi practicing because you're new to the team. Ricard, I mean, I'm fine, with him getting time off. He knows this offense probably the back of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Emory Jones, we know why he's not practicing. Likely, we know why he's not practicing. Andrews, probably a vet day, not the end of the world. But just newer guys and rookies and younger guys, I want to see practicing. But it's just kind of that Lamar missing practice. I probably won't expect him to practice for a couple of days, which I'm just going to kind of prepare myself for, just so I'm not going to be, blindsided by it. But I do want to see Jair probably come back and Uzi come back next week and really get ready for week 1, because I know we sit here. I sat here and kind of just bashed the Bills receivers, but Josh Allen will extend plays, and we need our corners to be sticky tight, because he'll run around. The receivers will run around, get open middle of the field. So we need those guys out there, because I don't want to see him as great as he's been this preseason. I don't want Jalen Armour Davis on Khalil Shakir. Don't want him on Keon Coleman. I just don't. I'd rather have them back on the special teams or the 4th and 5th stringers. So, I want Marlon, Jair, Nate, Awuzie, our first 4, Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton, those guys out there on maybe like a 3rd and freaking 13, 14 words of passing down, and we have just our freaking studs out there waiting for you to throw an errant ball, and we pick it off. So, want to see the new guys get practicing, but as of right now, not panicking. Let those guys get healthy.
Yeah, for sure. As we are 17 days away from kickoff in Buffalo for week 1 against the Bills, man. Cannot wait for that game. Absolutely cannot wait for that game. Speaking of one of the guys who missed practice today, Zay Flowers.
Yes.
Zay Flowers. That was a guy who, as we're getting spammed in the chat by some spam bot right here. If we got some mods in there, let's go ahead and get him up out of there.
I got it. We're good.
All right,
We're
cool. But no, Zay Flowers, he was featured in the Ravens Wired episode last night, and I don't know if you caught it. I caught some of the clips. I didn't see the whole thing, but man, Zay Flowers look 1,000% this year. I don't see any sort of element. I don't see any sort of slowing down from here. I don't see any lack of twitch from Zay Flowers, due to that I word. But I see Boz in the chat. What's going on, Boz? Appreciate you for coming through. Another Purple Rain pioneer there, mod in the house. But yeah, I mean, Zay Flowers is a guy who, again, I know I talked about Rashad Bateman potentially having more touchdowns than him this season, but the way that this guy is able to break off at the top of his routes, you know what I mean? And just cut on a dime. I absolutely cannot wait to see Zay Flowers play football. You're going to see a ton of 10 to 14 yard completions over the middle of the field to Zay Flowers this season, as he's going to probably line up in that slot wide receiver role pretty often. So what are your expectations for Zay? I mean, we've talked a lot about Bateman. We've talked a lot about DeAndre Hopkins, but what are your real expectations for Zay Flowers going into year 3 now, coming off that injury? Well, I word. Jesus.
He's kind of set the standard for him now as 1,000 yards. He was very close his first year with sitting out a game, I believe, and just having games where he wasn't targeted. Second year puts up 1,000, Pro Bowl. I think what I'm expecting more is just more touchdowns. That's the only thing I can. I think as Ravens fans, and this won't be a hot take whatsoever, Zay will have more yards, Bate will have more touchdowns. Same DG says it here, Bate is just that much more dangerous in the red zone. He is. I think his build and his route running really helps him out a lot, and just the way he's just so silky smooth can get free in the end zone. But for me, I think if you can give me maybe 1,000 and like 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns,
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. But realistically, 6 and 1,000 yards. That's kind of the precedent. And that's what's when you're that good, expectations are higher. So I couldn't be happier with Zay right now. I really couldn't.
Yeah, man. Zay Flowers, and he actually was on the Lounge podcast with Garrett and Mink the other day. And he was saying that he put on more weight in the offseason because he wants to focus on running straight. And this was something that he said a couple of weeks ago, like on like a random viral video or whatever. But that was something that, because to me, like you mentioned, Rashad Bateman is just much more of a red zone threat. And I feel like he'll get more targets and more receptions in the red zone, as will guys like Isaiah Likely when he comes back, Mark Andrews, maybe even a D-Hop. I think like in those condensed areas in the red zone, it is going to be a little bit harder for Zay Flowers to kind of find himself open in no traffic for him to catch the ball. He'll probably get a couple there, but he's really going to make his money and his touchdown money by having explosive plays from probably like the middle area of the field to and beyond. Basically what I'm saying is he's going to have to run straight and through defenders and very, very fast. He's going to have to get around corners on guys and beat guys around corners, DBs even at that, in order to create these big plays. And that's kind of like the next step, because you think like a guy like a Tyreek Hill was able to do that. You know what I mean? Like Tyreek Hill was able to catch, a 10-yard slant and then take it all the way to the house, run around everyone. That is the part of Zay Flowers' game that he's missing, because Zay Flowers will run 15 yards in one direction trying to beat a guy around the corner, and then last second try to juke him, and then that gives other guys time to rally to the football, and he ends up going down. But yeah, I'm super excited about Zay Flowers, man. We talked about it on the last episode of the show. We think that this Ravens team has a top 10 wide receiving core in the National Football League. When we talk about pound for pound receivers, again, that may sound a little bit Homer-ish, but we don't think it's a stretch. At the very worst, I think you give them top 12, right?
Yes.
But yeah. Let me see what else we have in here in the chat. Go ahead and drop some questions in the chat. We're going to go ahead and pull those up on screen. We got Lisa Ann in the house. Lisa says, hey, Alex and Sudden Death. How you doing, Lisa? Hope you're doing well. Who do you see in the Ravens versus Commanders game going off yards-wise?
I'm going to make this open-ended, just players in general.
Sure.
For just the game. I'm looking, I hate to say it's like the last chance for David Ojabo. I think we saw like 4 trades yesterday with kind of fringe player guys going to a team that could really use them. I think Ojabo could be that guy for the Ravens. I could really see us trade him for like a 7th round pick, or maybe like a 6th round pick swap to a team that might need an edge rusher, because he won't make our 53-man roster. He has to have the huge game. I want to see a lot of Jay Higgins. I want to see Teddy Buchanan. I want to see just the young guys go out there and just show me what you got. Line, I'm looking at Nick Samak. I'm going to see is he going to make this team.
Happy birthday to him, by the way.
Oh, it is a happy birthday to him. I'm looking at just kind of the backup guys. Like make your mark. Show me why you should be on this team. Show me why we should maybe count on you, special teams wise, or somebody goes down. Knock on wood, you can come in for maybe a drive or so and sure things up. Guys like that I'm looking for, and the fringe player guys. Like I said, Ojabo, he's one of them. And then receivers, Dayton Wade. I don't think he'll make the team. Keith Kirkland, I don't think he'll make the team. But Tez Walker, I want to see a deep ball. Let me see a 50-50 ball from him. I want to see him just kind of use, what type of receiver do we have here? Do we have a physical guy that can go up there and get snatch it from somebody? That's what I want to see. I don't want it to be just a vanilla game. We go out there and just, win the game. I want to see us just take risks, because this game doesn't matter until, week 1 is what matters. So guys like that is who I want to see really show out.
Yeah. You mentioned Jay Higgins, and you also mentioned Teddy Buchanan. Those are definitely 2 guys who I'm looking forward to seeing. Tyler Santucci, Ravens inside linebacker coach, talked a lot, about the both of those players today. Had high words to speak of both of them, and I was very impressed from what I saw, what Jay Higgins put on tape. He looks very, very instinctual. But I am also a big fan of Teddy Buchanan as well, man, and I just cannot wait to see what both of those guys offer in this final preseason game, because I know the Commanders are the last team to beat the Ravens in the preseason. So I know that like the Commanders or the Ravens are definitely going to want to get this one back. That's for sure. And the Commanders are going to play us tough. It's going to be in Landover. Can't wait to see what those guys have to offer. But is there any word on Keaton Mitchell and whether or not
He's not
he's
going
going
to
to
play.
play?
You
No.
you can't have him play on that field. Coming off of
Yeah.
what he came off of, ACL, PCL, damn near the whole leg exploded. Yeah, don't risk it. It's not worth it for him. He made the roster. Rasheen Ali is kind of a guy I want to have a lot of touches. I want to see where does he have a spot on this roster. Harbaugh said we might carry 4 running backs, so that's Henry, Hill, Mitchell, Ali. You
Yeah.
know, make him earn it. Make him return kicks. Put him on the edge. I mean, run on the outside runs, all that. I want to see him. I want to see him do that. So that's another guy I'll be looking at.
Yeah. Just really quick, Cordell Woodland here reports, a friend of the show, by the way, reports that Lamar Jackson was laughing at Adam Schefter when he was covering Lamar Jackson's foot I-word. He leaves a laughing emoji on Instagram there underneath Adam Schefter's post. And Adam Schefter was basically just saying, like Alex was alluding to earlier, that, if it wasn't serious, then they wouldn't need the x-ray or they wouldn't, this or that. And it seems like it's for clicks. It seems like it's to get a story going. And guys like Adam Schefter really do benefit off of stories like this getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what he does. He's kind of like the Woj of the NFL, you know. But I mean, this is kind of good news to me. The fact
Yeah,
that Lamar Jackson is laughing it off, if you had stayed silent about it, we still wouldn't really care, right? But the fact that he's laughing it off, it kind of goes to show that, like, hey, like, I'm not actually hurt, guys. Like, it
yeah.
was just precautions. I didn't, want to go any longer on my foot yesterday. I'm fine today. Maybe a little bit of soreness, but I'm laughing at all you guys making this a bigger deal than what it really is.
It just shows the sad state of journalism right now. When you have a guy who
Mm,
I thought Schefter was a really well renowned for me when like Twitter was just going up, like just kind of building. I think it hit his peak a couple years ago, but when Twitter was still like Twitter and not as big, he was the guy you go to. But now I'll be honest, if I'm talking about reliability, I'm talking about less clicks, talking about just straight football news, it's Ian Rappaport. Schefter, I think in the recent years has kind of bought into the ESPN. I think he's seen what Stephen A. Smith has done, and he kind of wants to get that same juice. Like he's on the NFL Live, debating football. With all due respect, you are not an analyst. You're a reporter. There's a big difference. So he wants this. He wants to have the clicks, and it's just nasty journalism reporting, man. I don't like what's happened to sports journalism, especially. It's nasty.
well, I think what it is the fact that controversy and conflict, it sells,
Yep.
and we live in like a society now where like likes and engagement, that's actual currency that translates into real dollars, so if you can go viral by being the first one to drop news about Lamar Jackson really being hurt, a two-time MVP, top 3 quarterback in this league, if you can drop news about him being, something significant happening to him, whether it be, I word, I don't want to put that on Adam Schefter. I don't think that he's genuinely like hoping that a guy like Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson gets hurt, but we know that he benefits off of, these type of stories. And that's just kind of the nature of media at that national level. It's all about being first. It's all about breaking the big story. But at the same time, it is a little nasty. It is a little nasty kind of spreading that, because he actually, I remember I was watching that clip. He said that Lamar Jackson missed practice for the second straight day. And I was like, well, not really, because he started practice yesterday. He left practice on Wednesday, and today he didn't practice all day. So a little bit off there. And like you said, I mean, a guy who is as highly credible as an Adam Schefter, you would expect to have all those details kind of ironed out before he gets on national television and tries to tell the world exactly what's going on. Because a lot of people rely on him. A
Yep.
lot of people rely on him for a news source. And like you said, we have for a long time kind of growing up. That's who you kind of go to, you look to. If Adam Schefter said it, it must be true.
Yeah. It's just
So
sad, man. So I don't like that. I don't like what sports journalism has become, and that's just kind of my old man rant for the day. Sorry about that, but it's like just when you have guys kind of beefing with reporters like that, that's not really a good look for you.
definitely not a good look. Definitely not a good look. Something else I wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, so this right here, you actually had brought it to my attention because you had tweeted about it earlier today. This was a piece of news that came from Warren Sharp Analytics, about Lamar Jackson and the Greg Roman era of Lamar Jackson. As you guys can see here, I'll go ahead and read it along with you. Warren Sharp says, I read this about Lamar Jackson. Tell me I'm the crazy one. In 4 years working with his former offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, Lamar Jackson was never allowed to slide the pass protection if there was a blitz or audible the play. What a huge disadvantage these guys had to deal with. I mean, it's just, and let me go ahead and read this little excerpt here. In 4 seasons with offensive coordinator Greg Roman, Baltimore primarily huddled up and ran the play that was called. Under Monken, Jackson can slide the pass protection to one side if he sees a defender blitzing, or switch a receiver's route if the cornerback lines up a certain way. Now, Alex, when reading this kind of excerpt here, this blurb, what does it make you feel about the Greg Roman times with Lamar Jackson? Because I have a take on it, but I want to go to you first.
How many times did we say that Lamar graduated from Greg Roman's offense?
Yes,
How many
talk
times
about
did
it.
we
Come
mention that?
on.
And this is exactly what we meant. It's good for quarterbacks that are young, that might need a little bit extra time to process. And don't get me wrong, that was definitely Lamar, that MVP year. That was his first year starting. He took full advantage of things kind of being simple, and even this second year, the COVID year. But after that, man, there was a point where it's like, let him graduate, and that obviously did not happen. 2021, he got the pass for the I words, but 2022, it it wasn't good, and I'm just happy we moved on. I'm happy Giro got a job somewhere else. Don't want him to be unemployed, but this is why we were kind of going till we were blue in the face, saying we need a new OC because it's just stale, it's stagnant, and we weren't putting up 20 points a game. This is why.
Yeah, and when you look at the night and day difference between Lamar Jackson's stats underneath Roman as opposed to underneath Monken, it really tells you the entire story. Like, there were handcuffs placed on Lamar Jackson, and for the talent that he had, I think that honestly it's more of an indictment on a John Harbaugh more than anything. We know John Harbaugh is a CEO type of head coach. He's not super hands-on with offense or defense specifically. He trusts his coordinators, but if it's special teams, of course, that's his thing. So he's going to be out there and really hands-on with that. Um, but to let that go on for so many years of Lamar Jackson's career, and to waste a couple of years, a couple of prime Lamar years, underneath a coordinator who's not allowing him to really unlock his full potential and flourish and just make simple checks at the line. You know what I mean? Like, Lamar Jackson is a Madden type of player. You got to let him get controls of the joystick, right? Like, back off, let him do what he does. Like, that's kind of who Lamar Jackson is as a quarterback. And it I think it did the Ravens a huge disservice kind of sticking with Greg Roman maybe a year or two too long, because again, like you said, he's a good coordinator to kind of usher in, young quarterbacks, raw quarterbacks who have a really good rushing talent, rushing ability, but maybe need to develop a little bit more in the passing game, the pre-snap stuff, things like that. But what better way to have them learn those things and develop into a top tier quarterback than to let them do it.
Hmm.
Let them get on the bike and fall off. Let them try and make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand trying to hide certain parts of Lamar Jackson for so long, because we see now that he's able to, kind of take reins of the offense, he's killing it. And
Yep.
it's been one of the best offenses in the league the past 2 years. So again, I think it's more of an indictment on John Harbaugh and not kind of assessing that quicker, and pivoting off of Greg Roman a little bit quicker, because Ravens fans have seen it for years.
You remember when Bucky Brooks said that we graduated from Lamar and we should draft Justin Fields? Stuff like that, I don't forget, because it just kept going on and on and on and on. And now when you hear stuff like this come out, it kind of annoys me even more. I'm not gonna lie. It's frustrating because, like, what are we talking about here? And I pulled up the clip of Emmanuel Acho, and what you may think of him, that's fine. But at the end of the day, he was NFL national media, and what he put out was saying that the Ravens scapegoated, like we scapegoated Greg Roman, that be careful what we wish for with him. That's funny to me because I'm happy with what we have. I'm happy with the receivers we brought in, the development of Bateman, development of Flowers. Hell, I know we overpaid Odell. Having him as a 3 was cool. D-Hop as a 3 is cool. Seeing Likely also develop, stuff like that. I'm fine with where we're at now. I think we have a Super Bowl caliber roster. It's not scapegoating. It was the truth. Please tell me what the Chargers offense did last year that I can say, wow, that's an elite offense. Because to me, Ladd McConkey is the only guy on there. It's like the only guy you're throwing to.
Right.
And in the playoffs, the Greg Roman offense turned heels. They got blown out by a Texans team that looked like one of the, if not the worst team in the playoffs. Let's not forget about that. How bad they were at the end of the year. Their second to last game, 31-2 to us. They go at home, have a game, blow out the. Well, it doesn't look like a blowout, but Ladd McConkey had a wonder 70-yard touchdown catch and run. Outside of that, that was a blowout. So, no scapegoat here. It had to happen. Grateful it happened.
Yeah, definitely grateful that the Ravens moved on from the Roman era, aka the Dark Ages. Man, terrible times. I'm not gonna lie, terrible times. Now, one more thing I wanted to bring up, and if you got any questions, make sure you drop them down below in the live chat. If you're part of the hashtag Replay Gang, shout out to you. Make sure you leave your questions, comments, concerns, whatever you got down below in the comments section. Also, make sure you like the video. Like. The video helps us out a whole lot. And then also subscribe if you are new. And if you want to, maybe go ahead and join one of our Purple Rain Pioneer memberships. We'd appreciate that too. But listen, another piece of news that came out today, Alex, and I don't know if you saw this, but it's a positive. It's a step in the right direction. The NFL is installing a dozen new cameras in every single NFL stadium so that officials can have all the angles that they need to see where first down markers are, even though they have the little chip in the ball or the other technology that they've got now, to see if somebody picked up the line to gain, just for fumbles, for, down by contact rulings, things like that, touchdown, all that stuff. So me personally, I've always been pretty good. Like, if you ever watch a game in person with me and there's like a controversial call and they're like replaying it over and over and over again, I'm normally pretty good with the 2 or 3 camera angles that they give us. I'm pretty good at determining what the ruling should be. And I'd say about 85 to 90% of the time, I'm pretty right. Almost to the point where I was thinking the other day, like, what if like when I get older, I just like pull a side gig and become an official, like a referee? That'd be a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie.
It would be. Or like a ball boy, chain gang. Well, not chain gang anymore. Actually, while we're talking about it, chain gang is low-key pretty dangerous. Because a couple of guys like tore ACLs. I don't know if you remember, like one guy like got hurt. Another guy, I remember, was like a viral thing, like his foot was bending sideways and Alvin Kamara like fell on him. A little bit dangerous down there on the field. If you're a ref, watch out. So I gotta say, just keep the head on the swivel.
I would be like one of those cool refs though, like one of those big buff swole refs that's like super in shape and like, like a guy breaks off a big run and I'm like running side by side with him. Like they would make edits about me. They would make edits about me, like being like a real cool ref. Yeah, I'm gonna go viral for sure. But no, so the NFL is installing 12 new cameras in every single stadium, 4K cameras at that, to make sure that they get every single angle. And to me, I think that this greatly enhances the viewing experience of the game all around, because if they're able to pull from these dozen cameras at any time at a moment's notice when there's a really, really big call, it's going to make the viewing experience a lot easier, especially for new watchers. It's going to be easier to kind of point things out to them. So I'm all for it. I love it. I even love the first down technology that they have now, following the whole Josh Allen tush push thing. I think, I just think it's a step in the right direction. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, hopefully it makes the game go quicker too, with more angles. It won't take forever for challenges, replays, all that. So I'm looking forward to that, but hopefully they get the calls right, because there's sometimes where its calls are pretty suspect. It's like 60-40, 60% right, 40% there's like, oh, well, if we had that one more angle, that would really tell us. So maybe we have an angle now. So good on the NFL. Hopefully we don't have any controversies like we did last year with some teams. Not going to name names, getting some calls their way. But if we can end those, I'd be happy with it.
Wait, which teams did guys get,
It just felt like every single week the Chiefs had like a controversial play. I don't know if you remember, like every week, like there was always a play on Twitter we're like, oh, the refs. Like, I don't want that this year. I don't feel like going
Mm.
on there and there being think pieces about conspiracies. You know what I mean? Like, having these cameras now should eliminate all that, right?
Yeah.
It should. It should.
It should. It should. Hopefully it does. Let me see a couple more pieces of news here. Oh, wait, hold on.
Check it out.
Siri's talking to me again. Siri's been going crazy. I need to figure out a way to turn this off on my Mac. Anyway, shout out to everybody in the chat. I see RTV says you just got off work. What's going on? What's going on, man? Appreciate you for coming through. A couple more things I want to touch on as the Panthers are actually playing the Steelers right now. Didn't even realize that. Apparently, Trevor Etienne just had a nice run of 28 yards. Interesting stuff. But I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the Cowboys just for a second. Jerry Jones, earlier today, he was on like a news outlet, right? And he was basically saying in so many words about the Micah Parsons situation that, you know, I mean, we love Micah Parsons, love to have him here, but he's basically got to play ball. You know, like, we got to build a team around him. So, like, somebody's going to have to take the pay cut. And to an extent, I kind of get where Jerry Jones is going with this because, like, in recent years, he's had to, you know, there's been the whole controversy. Oh, I got to pay Dak big money. Now I got to pay CD Lamb big money. And now this year, it seems like an annual thing. The Cowboys have to pay somebody big money. You know what I mean? And I can understand if, you know, if Jerry is kind of like willing to give some pushback and kind of stand his ground on this one and say, you know what, like, I'm not just going to settle for paying you top dollar. Like, I want to kind of get a good deal for once on my end. So we can kind of build out the rest of this roster because there's no reason for a team as talented as Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. I'm not even talking about George Pickens, which was, you know, their new acquisition this offseason, and Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, who's also not playing right now. I don't know how you're not contending for championships or at least your division, you know, with all that talent. So what are your current thoughts on the whole Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons situation? What do you think it is?
It's not surprising. I think the Cowboys have had Super Bowl caliber teams for 2 or 3 of the past couple of decades. I can go back. I mean, that Zeke, Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott, Zach Martin on the line.
Yeah.
They had guys everywhere defensively. You know, DeMarcus Lawrence on the line as well. Like, Jerry Jones is his own worst enemy. Jerry Jones is a whack child to say the least of it. I just think he just, you know, is kind of known around the league as probably that old man, the old crazy man, probably in the corner house that, you know, don't go by there. He's probably gonna start talking to you about stuff from 30 years ago. That he just says things, and I think he forgets he says things because there was one I think I saw he was talking to Michael Irvin saying that Micah's agent came and talked to him and, you know, told him to take the offer and shove it up your rear end basically. But then Micah Parsons on August 1st said, "You've not been trying to talk to my agent. You've been trying to talk about the contract with me." It's just a lot of just back and forth. He said, she said. It's just not a good look for the Cowboys, especially them being America's team. You know, most people know the Cowboys in the world. They just are run like a bottom tier NFL organization.
Yeah, which you know, and it seems like they're more concerned with like the glamour and glitz of it all than actually like winning football. I mean, it kind of goes to show about this whole documentary that was just put out about the Cowboys and Jerry Jones and how they came to be. It's like, bro, if that isn't the most tone deaf like production that you can put together, like at this time, like, bro, it's been 30 years since you've been to an NFC championship, bro. Like, now is not the time to be like, oh, well, look at the glory years back in the early 90s and we were winning Super Bowls and, you know, Emmitt Smith. It's just like, I don't, bro.
Your biggest rival just blew out the modern day dynasty in the NFL. The Eagles. They just blew out the Chiefs. Like, that's the dynasty right now. Like, there's no two ways about it. That's the team. They just blew them out. And you're making documentaries about, like, my head will be on Mars. It would just,
yes, which is why that Thursday night game, I think is what, September 5th or 4th, one of the two, against the Eagles. That's going to be the season opener on Thursday Night Football. I cannot wait to see the narratives that come out of that game if the Eagles are to really step on the Cowboys in that one, which I expect the Eagles to win. I expect the Cowboys to be, you know, a little bit scrappy here and there, but I will take the Eagles to win comfortably by 2 possessions, maybe 10 points or so. 10, 13 points. But yeah, I mean, the next morning, that Friday morning, all the narratives that are going to be running around with, oh, the Cowboys aren't worried about winning. They're more concerned about money, which people have already been saying. I think that's only going to get louder and louder and louder. And we still don't know if Micah Parsons is going to play. It's just, man, it's a dumpster fire in Dallas. It is.
It
A
is.
Dallas
It
dumpster
is.
fire for sure.
Dallas dump man. That's if I'm an Eagle fan, you make that on a shirt. It's
Yeah.
going platinum, man. Sell it before the game on Thursday, the opener. Just have the guys outside wearing Dallas dumpster fire. Yeah,
Because
they're in
where
a
is
sad
that
state
game in
right now.
Dallas or Philly?
In Philly, in Philly.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're getting stomped. They're getting
Yeah,
stomped. They're gonna drop the banner on them.
I'm going like Eagles. Eagles about like 2 touchdowns probably for me. Or
That'll
10,
be a fun one to
10
put together a
points.
little parlay for that
hmm
game. A little season opener parlay, 3-legger.
I think I'll probably be more heavy on like the Cowboy receiver yards just because the Eagles secondary isn't the best and garbage time. I think the Cowboys will be chasing the game most of the time.
Yeah, I could see Pickens hitting his over. His Pickens over will probably be at like something humble, like 47.5 yards
Yep.
for game 1 of the season. And I'll take the over on that. That's like literally one big play, right? Maybe one smaller play as well. But yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I'll take George Pickens. Look at me already setting the lines and taking these lines like that are imaginary. But I'll take George Pickens over whatever it is. Dak Prescott, I'll take his passing yards over. I don't know. That one. I'd probably have to see what the official line is, but they might be out already. No, I think about
I'm
it.
about to check for you right now, actually.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but yeah, but also again, while he's checking on that, make sure that you subscribe to the channel because the Purple Rain Parlay segment is coming back very, very soon. They're always a lot of fun. It's going to be slightly revamped and a lot more fun and interactive. So make sure you guys stay locked into PRP for that.
It's not out, but the Eagles are 6.5 point favorites.
Ooh. I mean, I would probably, yeah. I mean, like I said, I expect them to win by 2 possessions. I'm surprised Vegas has it that open. I mean, I would have maybe taken a point or 2 off of that.
Yeah.
For the season opener. We don't know exactly what could happen, but I would probably still take the Eagles to cover though. I would take the Eagles to cover that 6.5. And then again, like I said, George Pickens over, maybe Dak Prescott's passing yards over, whatever that ends up being. On the Eagles side of things, I mean, Saquon Barkley, I mean, I don't know, man. I took his over in the Super Bowl, which was a mistake.
Yeah.
I should have known that Spags was gonna like have. If there was one thing that they were not gonna let kill them, it was gonna be Saquon Barkley,
Yeah,
and
he
that's
sold
exactly
out.
what happened. He sold out on me. So yeah, let me see. Love West says, "Nah, Pickens' longest reception always hits." That's what I'm saying. Like Pickens is that guy who Dak is just gonna throw it up deep to a couple of times. Like Dak Prescott, by the way, he's got a lot of pressure on him right this season. A lot of pressure going into this season. I mean, with 2 studs at wide receiver, there should be no excuse for him to not throw for 4,000 yards, right? So we'll
Minimum.
see.
Yeah, minimum there. Two receiver ones. So
Yeah.
when you have your tight ends that you had, you definitely have to throw for 4K for me.
Let me see. Okay. I think that covers everything we came here to talk about on this episode of the show, as we're almost about an hour in. Again, thank y'all so much for coming out to this episode 328 of PRP. Shout out to all the first time, last time listeners. If you're somewhere in between, we appreciate you as well. Shout out to everybody listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, X, Kick, wherever you may be live streaming from. We appreciate you guys. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. You can follow him on Twitter at SimplyAS10 and on Instagram at SimplyAS10.prod. Of course, our sponsor, Manscaped. Don't forget to hit them up. Follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast as well. And with that being said, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. But I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out. Go ahead.
Thank you for spending your Thursday evening, Friday Eve with us. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive. Test negative.
Yeah. And 17 more days, baby. Never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. In episode 328 of PRP, we're going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.